Reconnect.
He said he had carbs in there.
We all in there?
Jack, man, why are you leaning on me all the time?
Because I like you. I like you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Fit Forecast. This is actually part 2 of our child segment. Does that sound weird?
Just a little bit. Just a tad.
All right. This is part 2 of getting your kid a little healthier. Okay?
That's better.
Better.
Just to remind everybody, we got a boot camp this weekend. What time are we doing it? 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock, Saturday morning.
It's also a toy drive. The toys that we are asking people to bring, we're asking you to bring toys that inspire kids to get outside, get healthy. So try not to bring anything that's going to encourage them to sit down, sit by themselves, but to actually just get up and get moving. So
Yep, active themed.
active thing. So Eric, going to you.
Sir.
Throwing up the alley-oop. What you got for us today?
So what we're going to talk about today, guys, is real simple. Last time we really kind of talked about parents, what the parents are kind of, setting your kids up for and things like that. And we're, pretty much kind of on the attack. So today what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a different approach. We're going to tell you guys what you can do to help your kids a little bit more. Rather than focusing on the things that we're doing wrong, we're going to focus on the things that we can do right. And the biggest thing that we wanted to talk about and address was, amongst ourselves, we kind of talked about what were some things that our parents could have done different had we had the opportunity to go back and talk to them, having grown up now and thinking about our own upbringing. What were some of the things that we would change in our health? We reached out to a couple of our clients as well, and the clients gave us some great feedback, and we're kind of going to go ahead and play through that today, and then we're going to go into some other kind of information tidbits and tools for success as we're moving into the holidays for everybody as a family. So, Brandon?
Yeah, one of my clients who I've been training for a fairly long time, I started working with her, I want to say she was a junior or senior in high school, and she had always been overweight. She had never really known what not being overweight was like. So when she was younger, her parents had sent her to a camp. I can't remember the name of it, but some people will call it a quote-unquote fat camp or whatever. And she ended up losing 35 pounds there, but always wrestled with her weight. And it wasn't until her mom actually reached out to me, I don't even remember, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and asked me if I could help her, that, she really started to lose weight. So she ended up losing, I forget how much she lost, maybe 50 or 60 pounds her senior year. And then she went off to college and so forth. So I'm now subsequently still training her as she's back from school. And I asked her to write a letter, and the top 10 things that if she could go back and tell her former self or younger self and her parents, what would they be? So I'm going to read them off, and if you guys want to talk about them, we can talk about them. But the first one was, and I'll read it quote unquote, if I could go back, I would have told myself to stop comparing myself to my thinner sisters and other thin people. The focus should have been on myself and being healthier, not on how to look the prettiest. Do you guys have anything you want to talk about that?
I feel like a lot of times people misconstrue when you talk about getting your child healthy that you're going to be, fat shaming them or treating them improperly or giving them something wrong with their psyche. There's a right way to do something and a wrong way to do it. So make sure the way you're presenting things and you're putting things out there, like she said, focus on the child themselves and not comparing them to anybody else.
Right.
Role models are great, but when it comes to weight, especially at a young age, you're putting foundations that can be very damaging.
Right. And I would agree as a parent too. And I see this in my own son. Self-esteem is very, very fragile at a young age, and it's one of those things where it's very easy for a parent to be like, my child is overweight. Let me get them diet pills or try to do something irresponsible that maybe is geared towards adults that you can really mess a kid up. So, you guys have anything you want to add before I go to the second one?
I think that's an excellent point. I mean, just think about all the ads,
Yeah.
Victoria's Secret. They don't let people of a certain size in.
Mm-hmm.
It makes girls feel like they have to look a certain way. I know we don't like to talk about competitors or competing in here either, but even in like girls who work out every day, they have like a picture of them on stage, and that's like what they feel like they should look like every day.
Right.
When they're in their off season and they're building muscle or whatever, you're not gonna look like as shredded as you are. You're like depleted of water and food, and I feel like they have like that image of themselves that they have to maintain, or else they become depressed or don't look a certain way. I think that's actually a really big point. I don't even think we touched on that last week.
No.
I feel like a very important thing would be for you to talk to your kids and tell them that they're their own individual. So they're can't compare themselves to their classmates. For me, for instance, I was full freaking grown at 16 years old. Same size I am today that I was at 16.
You were that guy.
Like, I was 6'2" at 16. I was 220 pounds as a 16-year-old.
I
was 4'11" going into the ninth grade. I would never forget that.
I was always, every class picture, here's the rest of the kids, look like they came off an assembly line, here's Gary. You know, it was one of those things to where you gotta be upfront with your kids, and when you do realize that they're growing and they're maturing and stuff like that, some kids mature faster than others. Be upfront and honest with them. And you know, my niece, she's 10 years old. She's already starting to get hormonal. She's starting to have some changes go through her. My sister just had to have that conversation with her. Like, you know, you're starting to turn into a woman. It's one of those things to where, you know, and little kids, I know Brandon can attest to this because I've watched Braden over the years grow up. They get wider and then they go.
Right, exactly. So feet grow first.
Right, so you know you don't ever want to set them up and be like, you know, oh, you're fat and out of shape. Just, you know, they might be going through a growth spurt. So we're not saying to set them up for disaster, but you know, don't let them compare themselves to anybody else. Focus on the fact that they're their own individual, and you know, that can really help them.
That's so hard, man. And not to share a quick story before I get to point two. I was short. Like, I'm still short, according to some people, except for Gabe. But
no, I think you're short.
So going into the ninth grade, I was 4'11", and I remember I had played football. I played little league football all the way up until then. Until then, you had weight limits, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody was really the same size. But even still, the tallest guy on the team was always the biggest guy on the team in our minds. So I didn't play my ninth grade years. Literally, I was scared. Like, I literally was scared. I'll never forget my dad kind of yelling at me and trying to push me. And he was almost mad at me that I didn't do it. So it's definitely one of those things where it's very easy for young people to compare themselves to other. So I completely get what she's saying. So number two, if I could go back, I would have told my parents how I was feeling instead of bottling up my emotions and binging to find relief.
That's a big one.
They were often busy dealing with my older sisters, but I should have felt I was important enough to tell them when I needed support.
Well, that keys on the whole thing of self-confidence, and that we're not necessarily where she started or where she started to get to mentally, right, and feeling that she wasn't important enough or not as important because of possibly weight issues.
Right.
And that's a big thing. But communication fails in all relationships. And it doesn't matter if it's boyfriend, girlfriend, doesn't matter if husband, wife, doesn't matter brother, sister. Communication is so important. So you have to try and see how your kids reacting to things. If they're sensitive about a certain issue, there might be something underlying there that you don't know about.
And that leads me into a point. You know, we all talked about the 10 things that you would change growing up. My parents didn't really get along growing up. Okay. They fought a lot, and they fought a lot in front of us. And you know, those types of things, those do stress a kid out. And I can distinctly remember, you know, the easiest thing for me to do to forget about it was, you know, go run and grab some cookies or grab something that, you know, would totally take my mind off the fact that my mom and dad were just going at it with one another. And you know, they would fight hard and things like that. And, you know, it was one of those things to where it wasn't until I was older when, you know, I guess you could say you work up enough courage to be like, hey, would you guys stop? You know, type thing. As a kid, you know, you don't know what to do, so you just reach for whatever's going to give you that instant gratification. For most kids, that's going to be food, that's going to be candy, that's going to be something sweet to take their minds off of something like that.
Yeah, I also think that's a good point too. I mean, obviously kids and even adults deal with holding something in different ways. One, you might eat. One, you might just go work out. One, you know, you just might need to go for a walk. So to the parents, just leave the option open that, hey, is everything okay? You know, I'm always here to talk. I'm sure you probably do. With me and my dad, I think one year I went to basketball camp. He absolutely didn't want me to go. Like, I fought for it. I worked the whole summer to pay for it. I come back, we get into this huge fight, we're screaming battle, and then after that, it just, you know, we kind of like understood each other. You finally get all these emotions out, and it becomes an open book after that. So it might take some hard things to go through, but eventually you'll be able to talk to each other, and hopefully you'll have that same relationship that you can kind of bounce off each other what's going on and work together with that.
Yeah. I would say, from my standpoint as a parent, what I try to balance out is the fact that I know my son looks up to me. He's also probably a little scared or a little intimidated by me. So I try to make it as comfortable for him to talk to me about uncomfortable situations as possible. I'm trying to put that investment in him now. I'm 8 years old. So when he's 16, 17, 18, 22, he can have that kind of relationship with me where he can call me and be like, Dad, I don't know what to do. This is blah, 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 and so forth. So let's go to number 3. Number 3 was, if I could go back, I would have asked my parents to get rid of all the unhealthy foods in our house, not just hide them. I always found them.
True.
I disagree. I think this is the foundation for you to teach your kids some willpower. I mean, they're going after those things for a reason. So cause and effect. You need to treat what's actually going on and not just try and wipe up after the mess. So, I mean, if you're not going to teach your kid how to handle it now, what happens when they're around other kids? What happens when they're over someone's house? What happens when they're on their own? Say an adult. I mean, let's be realistic. You want your kids to be able to handle things. You have to be able to teach them how to. I mean, that's what you're there for. So, I understand this point. I do. But I think it's one of those things that if you take away everybody's option, right, and they only have one option, and then you give them all the options back, they're not going to know what to do.
Okay. At first I was going to say I disagree with you, but then the more I think about it, I would agree. I mean, I think there's some balance. I would say your child should be able to look in the refrigerator and see all kinds of healthy foods. And yes, if you got an ice cream carton over on the left side, it really shouldn't be that big a deal. You know what I mean?
I agree also with Gabe. I think it should be there.
Right.
But it's also a treat. Like, it's something that, like, as a kid, I had to ask for that.
Yeah.
Like, if I took it, I'm in trouble type deal.
Right. So that you would agree.
But you're empowering food then.
I agree.
There's a balance.
I agree with you guys in a disagree because I feel like there's a big balance. Here's the thing: the predominant amount of your food in your house shouldn't be unhealthy.
Completely agree.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, if she's coming at it from that standpoint, and that the house did have a lot of unhealthy food in it,
then I would totally see. So, exactly.
It's a double-edged sword.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you have to teach your kids to make the right choice.
Okay, so if you were to say she opens up the refrigerator and there's nothing healthy, that's not her fault.
It's not her fault.
Especially she's a child.
She should know that she should be reaching for. There should be some fruit or something like that in there.
Yeah, she should have the option of a banana or cookies.
Banana, right.
You know what I mean? Not always just cookies.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
You put bananas and cookies in the fridge?
No.
Well, I
put
bananas
apples
or
in the
cookies.
fridge. Dude, crispy apples.
I agree with Brandon though. You should open it, see healthy options, and then that one ice cream container. Also, I think that if you don't see it in there, and then you happen to go to a friend's house and see it, it's like, I have to have this. I've never seen it before.
But that was me. Growing up, man, my dad, he just had a heart attack. I was eating, while my friends were eating juice and cookies, I was eating stupid fake Newtons.
My dad had a heart
Crystal Light.
Snack
Snack
balls.
balls.
that
I hated
Green
those
Moss.
stupid
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
They were so disgusting.
You end up liking them though.
I did actually end up
They
liking
end up growing on
I ended up liking them.
Fiber One bars and
Right.
tearing them up for years.
I still love fig Newtons now.
I actually do like the Newtons. All right, so number 4. If I could go back, I would have asked my parents to not put my needs on the back burner. Yes, they were doing the best they could for the most part with my older sister being a teen, while me and my other sister were much younger, but obviously at some point my needs got left in the dark since my weight had spiraled so out of control.
So do you think this is an actual? Again, I'm not targeting anybody, but do you think this is an actual situation or more a psychological? I feel like I'm not that important, so therefore, they didn't help me enough.
There's a lot of psychology.
But I think that's very prevalent when you have multiple siblings in the house.
Yeah, but it's also prevalent that need will shift to different kids at different points.
Right.
So, to say that you should be completely evenly balanced, okay, perfect world, sure.
But that's never going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
No, I would agree with that.
So there's always going to be one bastard child.
Right.
Yeah.
You always had the teenager, and then you get the middle kid, but then the infant comes. Who do you think is going to
Right.
Yeah, so,
I get it.
Getting the parents to communicate again, I think is going to be a big key. I think this kind of draws back to that same point we had
Talk
before.
to your kids.
Yeah. You really should. They're little people. That's the best part of them.
At the end of it.
I love my nieces and nephews. They're hilarious.
John, you got anything?
No, I'm listening now.
Okay. Number 5, if I could go back, I would have wanted my parents to be more strict with my foods with my babysitters that were allowed to feed me. As a toddler, I was also fed a lot of bread by my babysitter. It was the only thing she ever reached for. And as a kid, I was given things like pizza, chicken nuggets, and fries all too often.
They're so easy to get a hold of. That's why.
I can agree with her with that because my grandma watched me a lot growing up.
Yeah.
And the easiest thing, grandma was a grandma.
Right.
And what's going to be easiest for what's going to be easiest for grandma to make real fast?
Grandma,
oven,
if I'm watching your kid, I'm not going all out.
Right. I'm not going to be sitting there making like homemade pierogies and stuff like that. I'm gonna feed your ass some French fries.
Well, so what you're saying though is that it's on the parents' obligation this part to make sure there's foods that are already made or easy. Because let's be honest, some babysitters are teenagers. We don't really need them cooking with some appliances.
Oh, right.
Yeah, my sister. I hope she doesn't watch this one particular podcast. She almost burned down my parents' house. I really hope she watches this podcast.
Why would you even say that?
She literally, I'll never forget. I was at the babysitter. I was young. I had to be like 6 or 7. I came home and there was ambulances and fire trucks out front because she literally was trying to make French fries and it was grease fire and she tried to put it out with water and you all know what happens to that. So.
Dude, there's so many different kitchen accidents that happen.
I think I watch my sister as a parent, and she sets the expectation with my niece. My niece knows what she can and cannot have. So she sets the expectation to where my niece will sit there and say, "Nah, I can't have that." So it's setting the expectation.
And part of the problem also is I think that as parents, when we turn our kids over to the aunt, the uncle, the babysitter, we stop thinking about what the kid's going to eat while we're there because we trust these people. And at the flip side, most people grew up eating pizza, wings, and stuff
everybody
like that.
knows grandma's just like, oh, you can have some ice cream.
Grandma is 100% like you can have whatever you want. So
grandma's the saboteur.
You guys never met my godmother and my godfather. No.
One of my clients just brought this up to me. I was talking to her about this yesterday. Like, how often do parents talk about? Brandon, you would know more than anybody. Talk about hey, my kid can eat this, this, and this, or do you just trust them enough that it's like?
Oh, thank you for bringing it up. Yes, I definitely am a stickler for if someone else is watching my child, you text me before you feed him because allergies are real, and chances are if I drop him off to Eric, I'm not going to just drop him off and say, hey, he's got peanut allergies, things like that. One of my biggest pet peeves, and this goes up to other parents who babysit and watch other people's kids, is make sure you talk to the parent of that particular child. Like, for instance, my kid has never had a piece of gum before in his life, ever. He didn't get it from me, my grandmother, his grandmother, his mom or anything, because he has dental issues. So we know don't give him gum.
Right.
The other day, he gets in the car and says, hey, Dad, can I have a piece of gum? I'm like, where in the hell did you get gum from? And then all of a sudden, he wouldn't tell me. He's like, oh, God, I'm in trouble. I'm getting ready to snitch. Yep. So clearly some adult or some kid gave him a piece of gum. So that's one thing that I would say is, parents, please be aware of what you're feeding other people's children as well.
Yeah, because she said that whoever was watching her daughter gave her a juice box. She'd never had a juice box before. And she liked them because they had the cartoon characters of whoever she watches on TV on them. So she always wanted them, but they kept her away. And then she finally had a juice box, and now they've come to the conclusion that it's just find one with the least amount of sugar.
And this is exactly why my sisters will not let me watch my nieces and nephews. Because we're doing Mountain Dew and pizza. Oh boy.
All right, so number 6. If I could go back, I would have wanted my parents to have been better role models when it came to my health. Both my parents smoke and eat just about whatever they want. This obviously wasn't setting the best example for me. If they don't take care of their health, why should I? Type of thing. That
one of the reasons I'm involved in health and fitness is my parents took very good care of themselves growing up.
Right.
My dad was always running. He was always outside working in the yard. He was always, my dad weighed 180 pounds my entire life. My mom was a marathon runner. Dad ran marathons and stuff. So, one of the reasons I'm involved with this is because they set the example. They set the expectation. So, yeah, I think that's a really good point. You have to show your kids, even if you're just going out for a walk around the neighborhood. If you smoke cigarettes, that's your own cross to bear. But you can still be active.
Yeah, I think we covered most of this last week in terms of parents being role models for their kids. So I don't think we necessarily need to dive back into it. Number 7 would be, if I could go back, I would have asked my parents not to have band-aid my eating problem with diet or fiber pills. This gave me the wrong impression about how to lose weight, and not only that, but it didn't really work.
I don't think you should give your kid any kind of diet or fiber pills
or anything like that. That's
unless a doctor's prescribing them.
Right.
Yeah, no, don't go into Weiss and see a diet pill and oh, this will work.
No, I'm giving her hydroxycut.
Yeah,
if you really want to have an issue when they're a teenager, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Turner said something in this chat. He said, present food differently to the kids. Just because you as a person might like it doesn't mean they will. Back then, when we grew up, didn't present food or taste was bland, so parents go too easy on foods. Yeah, present it differently. I mean, or don't present it at all.
Well, like Brandon said, Brandon will always tell Brandon, if you want to get big and strong, you'll eat this.
Oh, I play mind games.
Yeah, my grandfather used to. I hated spinach until my grandfather told me he loved it. Then all of a sudden, my entire mindset around spinach flipped.
Don't forget about Popeye.
Right.
The Popeye analogy.
Kids today don't even know what Popeye is.
Exactly. Number 8. If I could go back, I would have told myself, you're not hungry, you're just bored. Go outside and do something active. My parents weren't home after I got out of school, so I would come home and binge because nobody was around. If I had more structure after school, I would have been better off.
So make sure your kids drink water. I always tell everybody, your clients, they, like Gabe said, they're little people. They need water too. And 9 times out of 10, when they're hungry, they're probably dehydrated. Keep an eye on your kids' actual water intake.
I was wondering where that point was going to, because it was completely different way
I was like,
and then you drew it back in.
I was like, man, I'm on number 8. Which one are you looking at?
I understand that a little bit. My parents worked. My mom worked 2 jobs. My dad worked all day. The only thing that set me aside from being like overweight as a kid was I was so active. I always played sports. I always had practice. But if I went home and like I knew I could get away with something like junk food, I would sneak it in.
Yeah.
But I was just so active that
It didn't count.
It didn't matter at the time.
I mean, I think sweets are everything. Favorite foods are everything. Kids are always going to try to grab them. But like my mom wasn't home because she worked real hard. I was home before she got home. But I didn't go run and grab food though, man. I was doing something else.
But this goes back to leaving all that junk food at the house. If there's just enough junk food that you know if it's gone, then you can say so. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. So the thing is, as a parent, just know your kid is going to screw up. They're going to do certain things. You can't put so much on a 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old. So just don't keep the stuff in the house. Or if you keep it in the house, keep it in balance and moderation. Like your kids should be able to look in the pantry and grab healthy options. You know what I mean?
Have a snack drawer,
exactly.
not the pantry.
And even if they don't know it's a healthy option, they can still be a healthy option. So, if the kid comes home and it's a rainy day and they can't go outside and do anything, and let's just say for whatever reason, their friends are all busy, they're home by themselves, and they want to eat something. I mean, if they don't have any options that are healthy, then that's on the parent.
If there's one bag of chips and one thing of ice cream, and you could tell if it's dug into, you could be like, hey,
did you eat all these chips?
Why are you eating this before dinner? Like,
yeah,
exactly.
Come on.
I really like this next question, or the next sentence.
What number am I?
9.
If I could go back, I would tell my mom to stop constantly asking me, "What are you eating?" and instead prepare healthy meals and snacks, so she didn't have to wonder if I was making good food choices. Or if she was going to prepare the foods, at least take me to the nutritionist to educate me on what I should be eating.
I think this is really important, and we have a little issue here.
Yep.
All right. I think this is really important because you know how big I am with, and so is Eric, actually all of us are, about making your food, preparing your foods. That means you have the responsibility to do the same thing for your kid. If you don't think that you as a person don't screw up when you don't have your food in front of you and you don't reach for the easiest thing, what do you expect the kids to do?
Right.
You know how to cook food, they don't. You know how to do this, they don't. They're going to go with what they know, which is, boom, easy option. So make them stuff. You know, it's not terrible to have things in the fridge and be like, look, you can have one of these a day. You can have this. This is what you come home, this is your snack. Like,
I'll be 100% honest with you. Some of my best memories growing up is cooking in the kitchen with my grandma or my mom.
My aunt, and that's where I got started with everything.
Right, learning how to do this. Like, my mom teaching me about spices, my grandma teaching me that if you do this, you're going to screw it up. You know, little things like that. Like
how you said that.
And it just all, because she whacked me with wooden spoons. You can't do that anymore. But, those are some of my best memories growing up. And to this day, I'm pretty darn good cook, if I say so myself. And, it's because I learned when I was little.
One of the things my dad did, I remember, it just kind of came to me when I was like 15, 16, maybe 14, I think was when I really started taking the bus home, and I would always just beat him home by a couple hours, was every Sunday he would have my stepmother's mom make a bunch of meals that were always kind of like easy for me to microwave. Like I couldn't screw this up. It'd always be like a big pot of something.
My buddy Dale's mom.
So I would just take a spoon out of something, throw it in the microwave for 2-3 minutes, and then I had like my pre-dinner. And in hindsight, I'm just not realizing that kind of conditioned me to meal prepping.
And it's really cool because Jessica and I had spent this weekend with our friend Katie and Sean. They have a little boy who's a year old. They are very healthy individuals. They're very healthy individuals. They really work out hard, and they take their nutrition and stuff very seriously. Jax is the son's name. Jax literally sits there and mimics what they do in the kitchen. He's a year old.
Right.
He'll sit there and he'll have a little pot, a little pan, and he'll sit there and it's his favorite thing to do is pretend he's cooking. So like he already sees that. He's already starting to like associate that with certain times of the day because he'll pull out a pan, he'll pull out a spoon, he'll start pretending to cook because he knows mom or dad's going to get ready to cook. It's actually really cool to watch. And he's a really smart little dude.
Got anything else, or you want me to go to number 10?
No, Amanda just said that her daughter cooks with her on the counter. Yeah, just teach healthy habits.
Yeah, because it's fun. It's for a kid. It's like an experiment.
Anytime you get to help your parent out with something, it's
Yeah.
always kind of fun. Number 10. If I could go back, I would have asked my parents to pack me a healthy lunch for school every day, instead of letting me buy the garbage lunches the school
Man,
prepares.
if that ain't the truth.
Popcorn, chicken patties, pizza, and fries were not okay to eat every day. Not to mention the zebra cakes, Twinkies, ice cream, etc. available to
Churros.
buy for a snack, as if we needed a snack after lunch.
This is different now than it was, I think, when we were kids. Because when we were kids, you know, like lunch is $1.10, so your mom gives you $1.10.
Right.
You don't have the money to buy the Hawaiian punches or the cookies or whatever.
Right.
And there wasn't as much emphasis on nutrition in school back then as there is now.
Right.
I think Michelle Obama kind of
Yeah,
changed
she
a
came
lot
up
of
with
that.
Did, but
what's
they-
it called?
they-
Something My Plate.
Yeah,
I think it's called My
but
Plate.
they railroaded her off of it because well, everybody please watch the documentary Fed Up. It's on Netflix.
Well,
please watch it.
there's a couple scenarios there. I know with my kid's school, he has a quote unquote account. So like every month, we put like $20 in his account, and that's for when he goes to before care if he wants breakfast,
Right,
if he's
he
still
can get
hungry,
cereal or
or
something.
for whatever reason we screw up and some he forgets his lunch at home or something like that. He can get lunch at school. The school lunches I've seen are okay, but obviously they're going to be pumped full of preservatives and all kinds of other stuff. So they're garbage for the most part. So I send him to school with lunch every day. But one of the things a buddy of mine I went to high school with, who actually is a teacher at DC Public Schools, and I'll throw this guy out to you all and see what you think, because I had no answer for this. One scenario that you can't avoid is the income issue. So a lot of times what ends up happening is in these inner cities, a lot of these schools are underfunded. These school lunches are just garbage. And what ends up happening is parents can't always afford to send their kids to school with lunch. They can't afford always to feed these kids healthy options in the morning. So they end up going to these schools and they get the before care breakfast, the midday lunch, which is garbage. And then on the way home, because chances are it's not mom and dad, it's just mom can't afford to make those healthy options. They end up on the dollar menu. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So he brought that up to me, and I had nothing. I mean, it's a sad state in the economy and what's going on in our society, but
I'll be the dissenting opinion. If this is the one meal a day that your kid has, and it's that kind of
there's
meal,
breakfast in there too.
Okay.
So it's school lunch, it's school breakfast, school lunch, and then what ends up happening is mom is looking for the cheapest possible way to feed this kid around, which ends up being the dollar menu.
No, I understand, I get that, but I'm saying in general, we were talking about school lunches.
Oh, right.
If that's the one meal that your kid's having at a day, and you think that's the one that's going to derail your kids, then you're not doing enough for your kids. Period. Because one meal a day is not going to derail your kids. They're growing. So I mean, yeah, absolutely, I agree. I understand that there's income issues with sending your kid to food. I mean, I always bought my food at school. I understand all of that. I'm not denoting any of that, but I think that you guys need to take in the concept, like, even though they're little people, they're still growing. They need calories, they need fat, they need things like that. Kids should not be ripped. They should have a layer of fat on them. It's there to protect them. And that's what our bodies are there for.
I guess, but at the same time, you also got to think, you're not talking about the kid that is at a healthy weight. We're talking from, I think the set just fell apart behind us, but
happens. What happens when you're live, baby?
We're not talking about the kid that's a healthy weight, who's a little boy who plays 12 sports, and yes, absolutely, all of us could have got away with eating pizza. We're talking about the little kid who's already set back because they're already obese, and their parent is letting them go to school every single day eating garbage. And I guess that's what she's trying to address. And so we got to kind of remember, this is a different perspective.
If we're looking at it from an inner city low income standpoint, you are already on a budget, but at the end of the day, you need to look at that budget and see how much you're actually allocating towards your health versus how much you're allocating towards your wants.
Right.
I don't think some people also realize how cheap it is to kind of like, if you just put your money together, you could buy bread, peanut butter and jelly, You know, just things that you could actually make and give them rather than...
A really good point. If you buy your food and you cook your food yourself, you save a lot of money.
Take that small hit, spend, I mean, $20 can probably get you lunch for 2 weeks for a kid. Bread, peanut butter, jelly,
Easy.
a banana, rice cakes. I mean...
So you gotta just kind of look at your budget, and yes, like Brandon said, you know, it's a tough state of affairs when it's a fixed income and things like that, but, you know, there's you have the educational tools to be able to try to make the best decisions, and with coupons and stuff like that, like, heck, I'm not struggling, but I still like to save a buck. Like, you know, I look at coupons, and I use coupons and get Jordan loyalty programs and things like that. So it's one of those things where you gotta kind of do a little bit of your homework. Yes, I sympathize with it, but, you know, when you're looking at these little kids that, you know, that are significantly overweight, it lies on you. I'm sorry.
I want to say too, I went to public school up until 6th grade, and then I went back my sophomore year of high school. Mm-hmm. At private school, they made it almost like difficult to buy school lunch. Like
it was expensive.
It was expensive. Yeah. When I was 6th through 8th, you had to like order it in advance. I think the night before, like the Monday before, and then you didn't even get it until Friday. You only got it like 1 day a week.
That's weird.
They kind of like forced you to bring your own lunch.
I know when I was in high school, I bought my lunch a lot at school, and it was terrible for me. Like, I think I had like chicken nuggets 3 days a week or something like that. And in hindsight, that was not real chicken. Like, I can remember what the inside of that chicken nugget looked like, but it was good though.
It looked like a sponge.
It looked like a sponge on the inside.
But how many nuggets are really actually real chicken anyway?
None of them.
Exactly. So, and school lunches are going to be even worse because they're kids. Like, who cares, right?
Exactly. So we've covered the 10 points that she would tell her former self, or I keep saying former self, her younger self. Is there anything you guys want to talk about?
Let's talk about the foods that you guys are actually buying your kids. Low fat was a big trend a long time ago. Still is.
Still is.
Still is. Everybody looks for something that's low in fat, low in fat, low fat, low fat, low fat. If I buy my kids something that's low fat, I'm doing them a service. It's not true. When you strip the fat out of something, you destroy the taste of it. So in order to make it palatable, what do food companies do?
Sugar.
They fill it with sugar. Next time you're in a grocery store, humor me. Look at something that's full fat and look at the carbohydrates on it. And then look at something that's fat-free or low fat and look at the carbohydrates on it. I guarantee you your eyes will go like this. It's eye-opening, and it really is one of the things to where your kid's going to be fine with that 2% sugar. They're going to be fine with a regular cookie versus a low-fat cookie. I know that kind of will blow your mind. But do your due diligence. Read labels.
Not just the sugar either. It's sodium too, right. And then that leads to high blood pressure and whatever it may be.
It's a good point. I mean, you gotta understand. Food companies exist to make money. Tombstone Pizza has the company that owns Tombstone. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but they control school lunches. Why do you think Michelle Obama's campaign for healthier school lunches got shut down? What was it doing? It's taking money away from that company.
I still don't agree with the program because it takes away choices from kids and you don't teach them how to handle real life. So they get out of college, or they get out of high school, they go to college, and then they gain their 15, 20, 25 pounds because they don't understand what's going on. You take sodas away from people in school, you take kids' ability to be an adult and kind of learn how to handle themselves, and you're asking for a lot of problems.
I don't think she took it away, though.
She did.
I thought she portioned it better, too.
No, she took away soda machines, and she was planning to do a lot of different things.
Her plan was to put healthy options in vending machines.
Right.
Yeah, but it was also to remove a lot of the things that were there, so there was no temptation. There's a lot of schools that got changed because of that, and it got shut down. I'm telling you.
I'm sorry. Any program that's going to support healthy eating and removing sugar and bullshit and garbage out of schools, take it out. I get the whole...
I mean, dude, look at The Biggest Loser. You gotta look. I mean, you give someone a perfect environment to do what they need to do in, and then they come back to real life, and what happens?
That program would have helped more people than her.
Right.
I disagree.
I agree.
No,
I think
there's no way. How would that possibly?
I agree.
How would it possibly have hurt more people to walk to a vending machine and see a bottle of water instead of juice? Like, how would that have hurt people?
I'm not arguing that fact. I'm arguing the fact of You need to teach personal responsibility.
That's not the school's job.
That's
not the school's job.
But school's jobs are educating children,
but from a political
period.
standpoint, if I'm going in and I'm putting healthier options in schools, these people are also going to end up affecting the healthcare system, which goes back to the government.
Great.
So it's in her best interest to do that.
It also affects their
so what-
education. If somebody's all jacked up on sugar, they're not going to be able to pay attention.
Really?
Forget the whole
Because
willpower
sugar's a wise
shit.
tale, and you know that. Don't even pull that out. I completely disagree with both of you.
I'm
You
gonna
guys,
disagree with you
you're looking
hard
at
on that.
political, you're looking at everything else. You're not even looking at the person, the individual. They go to school to learn. What happened to your home ec class? What happened to the things that you learned in school? You didn't learn about stuff? You didn't learn about nutrition? You didn't learn?
No, I had to
not
teach
really.
myself that kind of stuff.
Well, that's pretty sad. That means your school system is failing, which it has been. That's another
Right.
whole topic in itself.
It's all
but I
about the
completely
topic.
disagree.
But at the end of the day, what are schools doing for kids in terms of actually expanding their growth on these topics? Home economics classes don't exist anymore.
That's my whole point.
Recess doesn't exist
And
anymore.
those are optional classes.
Yeah, they barely exist
They're
anymore.
You don't even have
They're
to take
electives.
them anymore.
Yeah, which is complete bullshit. You know, you were required to take home ec when we were little. You
It's all
were
about
required
passing
to
tests,
go.
dude. It's all about passing tests.
But they don't even give you the option to take the test now. You could either take gym, home ec, or a poetry class, and they're all considered electives. So you could take that poetry class and then not take home ec or gym and not learn any of that stuff and still get the credit for it.
I'll go ahead and throw it out there to everybody watching. Do you feel that that program would have been successful, or do you think it would have been set up for failure? Go ahead and comment below, and we'll get to your questions later on today.
All right, well, enough about that. What are we doing this weekend again? We talked about the boot camp. We talked about the toy drive.
Boot camp's at 10 a.m.
At Power House Gym.
Share this link.
Oh, yeah.
That way, parents, you guys are going to be free too if you share the link. Parents are free if they bring the active toy.
Correct.
So bring a toy for our toy drive, active themed. You share the link, your kid is free. I mean, it's essentially a $2 boot camp if you get a cheap toy from 5 and below. There's no limit to spending, so whatever you can do.
All right, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us. Where can they find us, John?
The Fit Forecast on Instagram, Fit Forecast on Facebook. Like, comment, share. We appreciate all the responses that we've been getting. That email that you got is awesome. It based our whole podcast, so things like that really help.
Yep.
And you guys can see it. Many different opinions and views. Everything is credited. Everything is there. So if you guys have anything, like you said, please share. We appreciate all of it.
Yeah, give us your feedback. Start a thread. You know, we can have a good discussion with it. You know, today it was proof positive as to why, you know, things are kind of jarbled with kids and things like that. Is, you know, there's different viewpoints as to what's going to be best for them. So, you know, we can work together as a society to kind of come together and find a common ground as to what's going to be best for our kids moving forward. So hopefully everybody was able to take away something from today, and looking forward to any type of topics that you guys can start with us below.
Eric, are you going to Total Athlete with me?
On Saturdays.
All right, so me and Eric are going to Total Athlete Nutrition Saturday. The one in Columbia. If you come with us, you get a little discount. We'll be there to help guide you through any questions you have. I mean, we don't really benefit anything from it, so we're not going to try to sell you anything you don't need. So come on down with us so we can help you out that way too. It'll be right after the boot camp.
All right.
Anything else?
Very good.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
All right, guys. See you next week.
As usual, we need a button.
Yeah,
And some
Click.
music. And some music.
Click.
we have an Eric.
Hold on.
We need some.
Hold on. It didn't look